Hi everyone, we're Group Technologia, and today we're diving into Chapter 3 of How Learning Works. What factors motivate students to learn? To start, I want you to think about a scenario we're all familiar with. Why is it that the same student can be completely unmotivated in an 8 a.m. lecture, maybe checking their phone, or zoning out, or doom scrolling, but then the moment they leave class to work on a coding project they love or play a video game, they're suddenly locked in, hyper-focused, and energetic? Clearly, the student didn't change, their personality didn't change. So, what changed? The book argues that motivation is not a fixed personality trait. You aren't just a motivated person or an unmotivated person. Instead, motivation is a goal directed behavior. It's a process that directs our attention and energy towards a specific goal. And because it's a process, it's influenced by specific variables. So, what are those variables? The authors propose a very elegant framework, almost like a mathematical equation. Motivation equals value times expectancy. It works like multiplication. If either of these is zero, motivation is zero. First, there's subjective value. This asks the question, why do I want to do this? Is it important to me? Is it fun? Second, there's expectancies. This asks, am I capable of doing this? If I try hard enough, will I eventually succeed? And finally, this whole equation happens inside an environment. A supportive environment can boost these factors, while an unsupportive environment can crush them. Now, to help us understand the first part of this equation, value, and why it's so critical, I'm going to hand it over to Eva.
Okay, so in this section, I'll introduce the subjective value, which refers to like how important or worthwhile a learning activity feel from a student's own perspective. So according to the reading, the students are more motivated to engage in learning when they perceive a higher value in a goal or a task. The book identifies three main determinants of the subjective value for achievement-related activities. So the first is attainment value, which refers to the satisfaction the person gained from a mastery or accomplishment. The students are motivated because completing a task allowed them to demonstrate the competence or to prove their ability. So, for example, a student may spend hours solving a difficult problem simply because successfully answering the challenging question confirms their capability. And the second is the intrinsic value, which means that the satisfaction gained from doing the activity itself, independent of any outcome. So the students may engage because they genuinely enjoy the process. For example, like writing a code or designing a project. This form of value is the foundation of what researchers traditionally call intrinsic motivation. And the third is instrumental value, which refers to how much an activity helps someone achieve other important goals. Motivation comes from future benefit or extrinsic rewards, such as grades, career opportunities, and salaries. For instance, some students may study business primarily because it leads to a stable employment and a higher income. So moving to the next slides. Importantly, the reading emphasized that value is multidimensional. Motivation rarely comes from a single source. Attainment, intrinsic, and instrumental value often work together. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation are not opposites. They can reinforce each other. And tasks that begin with only instrumental value, such as like the required courses, may develop intrinsic value as students gain competence and understandings. So, and also, subjective value is also closely connected to students' goals. Students typically pursue multiple goals at once, including learning, social belonging, reputation, independence, and enjoyment. And as a result, students evaluate the value based on their own goals rather than instructors' goals, intentions. So and also the motivation increases when the course goal align with the student's personal or professional goals. Overall, students engage more deeply in learning when they see a meaningful value in what they are asked to do. And now I'm passing to Maria to introduce expectancy and environment.
Hi. My section focuses on the second part of the motivation framework, expectancy. Expectancy is basically the belief that if I try, I can succeed. The chapter shows that Motivation drops when students don't believe their effort will actually lead to results, or when they don't believe that they're capable of doing work. So expectancy is really about whether students see success as possible. Outcome expectancy. So outcome expectancies are the belief that effort actually leads to outcomes. When students think their actions matter, they're more motivated. But when they think their effort won't change anything, motivation collapses. That's what happened in the example in chapter 3 about Professor Robles' thermodynamics class. She gave a warning that many students will fail her class, and this made students doubt that their hard work would even pay off. So they all pretty much disengaged. And yeah, efficacy expectancies. Efficacy expectancies are essentially the belief that you personally can do the work. And even if students know studying could help, they won't be motivated if they don't believe they're capable. This is shaped by past experiences and by how students explain success or failure. When students attribute success to effort and strategy, expectancy rises. When they attribute failure to fixed ability, expectancy drops. And the environment. Even when value and expectancy are high, the environment still matters. The chapter 3 described the environment as a supportive, as either being supportive or unsupportive. A supportive environment feels approachable and safe for asking questions. An unsupportive one feels discouraging, or hostile. A supportive a supportive climate boosts motivation, while unsupportive climate can undermine it. Even for students who care about the task and believe that they can see care about the task and believe they can succeed. Essentially, the key takeaway is that motivation is not a personality trait. It's more of a shape. It's more shaped by value, expectancy, and the climate that's actually around the students. When all three align, students can reach the motivated state where they feel deep learning actually happens. I'll pass it off to Naomi to discuss the strategies for value and expectancy.
Now that we understand the why behind motivation, how can educators actually influence these variables? So to boost subjective value, we should focus on connecting material to real-world tasks. When students see how a theory applies to their future professional lives, the attainment value of their work skyrockets. The reading reminds us that value isn't just one-dimensional, it comes from the satisfaction of mastery, the intrinsic joy of the task, and the instrumental rewards like career advancement. We can also help by sharing our own passion for the discipline and the fact that enthusiasm is often contagious. To strengthen expectancies, we need to help students believe success is possible. And one powerful strategy is to provide early success opportunities through small, low-pressure tests that can help them feel capable before they tackle a major project. And we should also provide clear rubrics so that performance expectations are transparent and often target feedback that focuses on controllable effort rather than fixed ability. And crucially, we must help students shift their attributions, teaching them to credit their success to hard work and effective strategies rather than viewing their intelligence as a fixed trait that they cannot change. So in conclusion, the reading emphasizes that motivation is not a fixed personality trait, but a dynamic process that we can nurture. And as we've seen in the interaction framework, even a student who values this task and believes they can do it might become defiant if the environment feels unsupportive. However, when we align high values with positive expectancy and a supportive climate, we can move students toward the motivated state where deep learning truly happens. So by identifying these levers, we can help our students stay hyper-focused and energetic, just like they are with the projects that they love. Thank you so much for listening. This was Team Technologia.